Hey everyone. Today's topic, flaky people. How should you deal with them? I've noticed that it seems like flakiness has become a lot more prevalent nowadays, and this could be due to all sorts of things like COVID forcing people to be indoors for a while, so many people found out that they enjoy it, and it's a lot easier than preparing to go outside and having to dress up and set aside time to do things and then accounting for traffic and all that jazz. So it's easier to just stay indoors and not be bothered by making commitments. But also, social media, online dating, things like that have made it so people, yet again, are very non committal. People just don't want to commit to things, set aside time to hang out with others, to go outdoors and have to do all the prep work for that. So there's a lot that's kind of all come together and made people seemingly more flaky in general. People just don't want to deal with all the prep work needed to go outside and do stuff or to do anything that could have mental health implications or stressful implications, even if they're low levels, like, getting ready for a date. A date isn't obviously the most stressful thing on the planet, but there's minor amounts of stress that go into it, right? Like choosing the outfit you're going to wear so that you look good, and then preparing yourself, brushing your teeth, wearing cologne or perfume, and making sure you're all well kept and that sort of thing before you go out there. And then when you're going to the date, you have to deal with traffic 1 hour, choosing the right place to meet, and then getting in the right headspace. And then once you're at the date, a lot of people, rather than asking themselves whether they like the other person, they're focused on whether or not the other person likes them, which can be very stressful. It almost could feel like a job interview, like you're trying to present your best self and you're not just relaxing and being calm and being okay with the notion of the other person not liking you. So there's so many things that can actually create these minor amounts of stress, which is a negative mental health impact, and people are aware of this subconsciously. Even if it's not something they think of all the time, we all kind of know that when we go outside and make plans with other people, there are implications. There's little bits of stress and those negative mental health implications from traffic and other things like that that we know we'll have to deal with. So many people now are probably choosing to stay indoors because it's the easier route, right? Especially when it comes to engaging with people you don't know all that well, like a first date with someone, especially if you met them online. There's a lot of that flakiness because people are just like, why should I set aside time and deal with all that minor stress to go see someone who I barely even know, and I don't even know if they're worth going to see? So you will get a lot of flakiness with online dates, which is why I suggest not bothering with that at all and trying to meet people in person, because if you make a good first impression when you first meet someone in, I want to say in real life, but I hate that term, but face to face, if you make a good first impression, they're going to want to see you and it won't be awkward and weird. I mean, there could still be flakiness, of course, because yet again, you're a stranger to them. But if you do make a good first impression, it will usually lead to them showing up for the first date. And if things go well there, then yeah, you're set. Things will hopefully, you'll get the ball rolling pretty much, and you should be able to get a second date, a third, and so on and so forth. But going away from dating, I have noticed there's also more flakiness with friends even. Thankfully, I am pretty decent at choosing the friends I associate with, so I haven't experienced this a whole lot, although there have been some friends in my past before I got a lot more picky who would flake on me all the time, and it became really annoying. But I know that this is something that a lot of people deal with now, and yet again, I relate it to all those aforementioned things, and there's so many other factors I imagine that impacted as well. It's not just, COVID and all that. This was happening pre-COVID anyway. COVID just made it worse. But yeah, social media probably is the biggest culprit here. It just makes people want to choose that easy route to not deal with the stress and whatnot of going outside. And it's almost like this constantly being online, constantly using technology has made people somewhat more introverted. And introversion has nothing to do with shyness. So it doesn't mean people aren't good at socializing with others. It just means they get drained when they socialize. And that happens to a lot of people now because they spend so much time using technology by themselves. that inevitably when they're talking and engaging with other people, there's a mental health impact, right? Like they're having to think about what they're saying. They're sometimes thinking about how they're presenting themselves to everyone, what people are thinking of them, and so on and so forth, which can be draining. It can make it so that by the time you're done spending time with other people, you just want to go home and like flop on your bed and just relax for a bit. So people subconsciously know this, and it's probably leading to people choosing to be flakes nowadays. But all the psychology behind why people flake, now I'm going to set that aside now and talk about how you should deal with flaky people. And my honest opinion here is that if you know someone who is constantly flaky, you probably don't want to keep that person in your life. Like, at least not at the forefront. Like, if it's a best friend but they always flake on you, I've actually experienced this in the past, and now that friend and I are not really close at all. I wouldn't say we're close. Like, we still keep in touch, but like, I don't go out of my way to try to hang out with him. In fact, I make him have to make all the plans now because I know how flaky he is, and I just don't want to deal with it at all. So I don't even bother now. I let him do all the initiating, which means it doesn't happen often. But that's the point. Like, you don't want to keep flaky people as like your best friends or the most important people in your life, because they're going to flake on you. They're not going to be there when you need them. So why are you going to keep someone like that really close to you? You can have them in your life, but do not make them integral pieces in your inner circle. Kick them out of the inner circle. Find better friends who are actually going to be there when you need them, and not just when they're feeling in the right mood to be there for you. Like, I know that friendship isn't supposed to be transactional, so I'm not arguing for that, but your friends should be there when you need them. They shouldn't make little excuses that kind of may not be all that compelling. And I know mental health is important, but if your friend is constantly using that as an excuse to not be there for you, is that really a good friend? So I know what I'm saying there can be very controversial, because some people will be thinking, Josh, if they're not feeling all that well, you should let them recuperate and all that. Yeah, I get that. But if it's happening all the time, come on, like, really? So that's what I'm talking about. So I just don't think it's helpful to have really flaky people in your inner circle. Kick them out of it. Do not have people that close to you who are never there for you. Only have supportive people, positive, uplifting people in your inner circle. People you can actually count on because they genuinely care about you. Everyone else, let them be like an acquaintance to you, but not a close friend. So that's typically how I deal with flaky people. And when it comes to dating, I can tell you right now, if a woman flakes on me, if it's once, if she has a very good reason for it, maybe I'll let it slide. It often depends on how I view her. Like, if I don't think she's all that great herself, then I'm not going to talk to her if she flakes once. I'm going to be like, okay, that's done. Like, I just don't, I'm not going to deal with you, because really, even if she has a good excuse, if I don't see a whole lot of connection between us, then yeah, I'm not going to deal with it anymore. But if there is something there and she has a very valid reason, then I'll say, I'll basically see if she's putting in effort still. If she offers to reschedule, that's a good sign. If she doesn't make any hints about wanting to see me again and doesn't offer to reschedule at all, then I'll usually be thinking, okay, there's nothing here, and stop seeing her. Now, in the case where she doesn't have a good excuse, then yeah, I'm not going to talk to her again, because that to me is disrespect. It's her showing she doesn't give two craps about my time, especially if she doesn't let me know beforehand. And I'm just going to be like, I don't want to deal with that. Like, that's not a good sign for the future of your relationship, because I date to get into long-term relationships. I don't date just to have the fun business, because if that were the case, then obviously I wouldn't care all that much about this. But I want to find a woman who can actually be by my side when tackling life. So if she flakes a lot, that's not a good sign. I don't want a flaky girlfriend, so I'm not going to even bother dating a woman who's flaky. So yeah, I mean, if you agree, then that's probably a good way to operate as well. Just don't tolerate flaking unless they have a very valid reason for it, and they are apologetic and they offer to reschedule, because that shows you that they still care about you and want to see you. Now, if they aren't apologetic and they don't offer to reschedule, that could be a bad sign. That could just mean that they don't find you all that compelling as an option for them, and maybe something better came along, so they're ditching you for that better option. And yeah, not good signs, right? So that's my take on flakiness. I just don't tolerate it with friends for the most part. I'll just keep them out of my inner circle. And when it comes to dating, I especially don't tolerate it because it's just not a great sign for building a future with someone. So there you go. That's pretty much all I have to say on flakiness. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like content like this, be sure to subscribe for more. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like on it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci.